Welcome to SpeakUp Talks. My name is Travis, and today we're joined by Claire Dossett, account executive at SpeakUp. How are you doing?
Good, thank you. Thank you for having me here.
Great, my pleasure. So, Claire, it's the holiday season, and I think for any business, holidays and end of year is also a difficult time.
Yeah.
But I think for the compliance and HR team members, it's obviously a very stressful time because not only do they need to wrap up their years, they also need to manage all the different disclosures that are happening around this time.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to hear your take on kind of what those challenges are and maybe some potential solutions.
Yeah. So typically, training around gifts and entertainment often goes out earlier in the year. And with all good intention, we train our employees about what to do, what not to do, what the company expects of us. And then fast forward to the holiday season, which really starts kind of like around November time, it can get forgotten.
Speaking from my own experience in
Yeah.
many companies, I've onboarded,
Yes.
learned about the things you need to do, how you disclose things,
Yeah.
completely forget about them. Then
Yeah.
the holiday seasons come around, and then just it's not even in your mind anymore.
No. And, like you quite rightly said, it's end of year. People are busy, but also they are facing things potentially coming through the post, gifts, invites to
Yeah.
go out in the festive season. And for them to try and recall their training from the summer or even earlier is pretty difficult.
Yeah.
So it's probably good for the compliance team to perhaps consider some additional communication
Yeah.
in the lead up to the holiday season, just as a very gentle reminder. No, they don't have to redo all the training that they did, but just some communication around the importance of being mindful around gifts and entertainment this time of year.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Just raise some awareness and bring them back to like the policies and kind of the limits and all that stuff makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But I would like to maybe talk a little bit deeper about why it's necessary. So what is the danger of people not disclosing these things properly
Yeah.
in the right time?
I think nobody, particularly in the organisation, wants to do the wrong thing. There can be some confusion about what's acceptable and what is not. Everyone, they're getting excited because it's the holiday period. They perhaps get a little caught up with the excitement and everything that's going on. And so it's just to be able to offer some kind of guidance that is easily accessible. So when they are faced with an amazing parcel or an invitation to a fantastic party by one of the prospects or a customer, just make it easy for them to find out, where do I go?
Yeah.
Who do I speak to ensure I'm doing the right thing in my approach to accepting a gift or not accepting a gift, going to that dinner or not. And so we just need to make it a little easier for our employees to do the right thing.
Definitely. I think also in another way of looking at it, if you are in, for example, a sales role where you are working on building and maintaining relationships, it's also handy if you get that reminder internally just to gaining that awareness again during the holiday season to make the people you're giving gifts to, make it easier for them. I think it's also a good idea.
Yeah, I think often it's confusing for the sales team. The compliance team are there to support and help you, to make sure you're doing the right thing when you're going through these business processes. So leverage them from a sales perspective as your companions and vice versa. It's probably really important for the compliance team to partner up with the sales function around this time of the year, just to make sure that they are aware of their obligations to the business, but also to their customers and their clients. And I think just keeping those channels of communication open, especially this time of year, between compliance and sales, then ensures that there's a real partnership through that sales process and there's no surprises later down the road when those contracts are getting signed and then suddenly there's a compliance issue comes up in the 11th hour.
Yeah. So maybe you could shine a bit more light into that, because I think from a compliance side, obviously people are aware of that, but from people who are maybe just doing their thing and accepting gifts and whatnot, how much does that bring things in jeopardy in the 11th hour, as you mentioned?
Yeah, it can. We want to make sure that we are winning business fairly.
Mm-hmm.
I think everybody has that approach these days. There's been enough legislation out there for many, many years. Right. But ethically, we want to make sure that we are that organisation approaching business ethically as well as compliantly. And so I think that's probably what's quite important there with regards to the sales processes and including compliance along the way.
And I think, at SpeakUp, we really take the message or the approach that we're not, compliance is not checkbox. It's not just follow rules. It really is to add that extra value of being a trustworthy company, ethical company, and the added value of that. So I would also maybe suggest that when you are doing your end of year holiday campaign around gifts and entertainment, to also reinforce the reason why you put these limits and whatnot, because the fact that you are an ethical organization, want to do ethical business. I think that may be helpful than to just be perceived as a yes/no.
Exactly. Yeah. I think also it comes across well to our customers and the companies that we actually want to do business with. If we are having that open conversation about it's this time of the year, I'd like to take you out for a coffee or I'd like to send you something in the post. I think if you have your sales team getting ahead of it, by communicating to their prospects or to their customer, this is our intention. How does that sit with your own ethics and compliance program? And have that open dialogue. I think it also kind of tells something to those organizations too. They really do take ethics and compliance seriously. They recognize this time of the year. They have the right programs in place to protect not only their own employees, but also the companies that they're doing business with.
Okay. I think one of the important things to remember is that many organizations are obviously still using Excel sheets and very, for lack of a better term, just manual way of handling these types of disclosures. What are your thoughts on that and how we could maybe support them?
Yeah, I think a lot of organizations, as you quite rightly said, are still or still have a very manual process when it comes to disclosures. We've only really seen organizations starting to adopt technology for this area of the business in the last few years. And I'm talking large organizations as well. A lot of large organizations are still leveraging spreadsheets, very manual work to be able to capture this information. So, but it's not difficult or expensive to move into technology. In the long run, it will save a huge amount of time, money, but more importantly, it will enable the business to move forward by understanding the risk that this poses to them as an organization if they don't get to grips with it.
So obviously, the risk is a main point why we need to do it in the first place. But then you go back to mentioning that compliance teams are often under budgeted or under resourced. So imagine having to handle 1,000 gifts and entertainments reports or disclosures in a month period with a team of maybe 2 people handling it. That's a lot.
And then if you've got the regulators looking in and asking for information around your gifts and entertainment registry, one of the key red flags to them is the time it will then take you to gather the data that they need to look at. And if you have that living in spreadsheets and documents dispersed in different laptops, then it will be a bit of a concern for them as well.
So I guess this is maybe, busy period, still super necessary, but this is where, maybe making the choice to get a software solution like SpeakUp.
Ideally.
So for example, the importance of a paper trail, super important.
Yes.
When was it submitted? What supporting documents are there?
Yeah.
When has it been reviewed and approved by maybe a manager?
Yeah.
Having all that, having the communications facilitation between those two.
Yeah.
So something gets triggered in the system, it informs the various stakeholders. And then also having this automatically generate all these reports. How many reports have been submitted? How many have been kind of approved and declined, and what reason behind it? Yeah. That is something that one person can do versus maybe two people pulling the hair out doing it full time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think the value of really using this holiday season to figure out your wish list for compliance software.
As you're thinking about budgets for 2026, exactly. To be on there. But yeah, it's again, I imagine if you're living in spreadsheets trying to do this, it's a massive headache. Oh, yeah. It's a huge risk. And it's also the fear of, have we missed something? So if an auditor or regulator is looking at your gifts and entertainment program, gathering all that data is going to be difficult. And more often than not, something will be siloed somewhere that you missed.
Indeed. So we talked about obviously building awareness in campaigns and to get those reports in.
Yeah.
But on the other side,
it's kind of twofolded. The compliance team have got two roles here. They've got to make sure they've got their employees doing the right thing through education and communication and supporting them. But they then will be asked questions by the board and their own senior leadership team of like, well, how did it go? Yeah. Was it effective? And if it wasn't, what kind of checks and balances do we have in place as a compliance team to ensure we are deploying an effective program? So we need to be able to report on that data back to make sure they've got the right tools in place to do it.
Can you give us some insights on kind of what factors they should focus on and how to make that successful?
The compliance team wears multiple hats. And they've got a couple of jobs here with any disclosure program, whether it's gifts and entertainment, sponsorship, donations, conflicts of interest. But with gifts and entertainment, they've done one role of education. So they've educated the employees about what the company expects of them, gives them guidelines, training around that, sends them reminders, especially in this busy festive period. So that, and they've got the tools in place that will enable them, if they have a gift to disclose, if they have a meal to disclose, then they've got the tools in place to enable that to happen. They also have a responsibility to senior leadership and the board, where they will need to understand the data. So how effective has this program been? Yeah. So when we're pushing out policies, when we're pushing out guidelines, are they being read? Are they being understood? Do they make sense? Yeah. And we'll really only properly understand that in actions from the employees, because they will then go on to submit a disclosure, a gift, a meal, some entertainment. So it's really helpful and probably really important for the compliance team to have tools in place that enables them to gather the data to understand how effective was our gifts and entertainment program this year. What can we learn from it? Yep. What are the gaps? What worked really, really well? What didn't work so well? Yep. And then being able to report on that data up to senior leadership and the board about the effectiveness of their program and their plans for next year on how to improve it.
I mean, this is definitely the perfect period to run a test like this, because this is one of those things where there's a massive uptick that's seasonal. Yeah. So you know it's happening, and you can use it to test kind of just your always on kind of things that you need to do and report on anyways.
Yeah, this is the stress test for their gifts and entertainment program.
More than one way.
Yeah, and they really don't need it this time of the year because they're so busy with everything else. But equally, this is the time of year when they should see that spike in numbers. And more often than not, compliance teams are under-resourced. Yep. So even more so, they need to rely on technology and tools to be able to support them at this time of the year, to gather that data, to be able to report on that data, get those reports quickly, up to the senior leadership and the board, but also from their own peace of mind to be able to understand what do we need to do next year to improve this. Also, I mentioned earlier about often compliance teams are slightly under-resourced, and this is a very busy time of the year. So perhaps if you've got the right technology in place, push some of this work onto the local managers. If there, if there's some thresholds that they're just borderline on, perhaps those managers could do the approvals before it gets to the compliance team.
For sure.
So that would be quite helpful if you've got the right tools in place to enable that to happen.
Yeah, I mean, you're always going to respond to an email from your manager versus some random person you maybe heard of once.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Any other tips you have maybe to help make these campaigns successful?
I just think keep talking about them.
Okay.
I just think keeping them out there, obviously a big push this time of the year, but just try and be as open and transparent. Maybe even have a channel for people to ask questions. Because more often than not, an employee doesn't want to go against policy. They just might be a little bit confused. So if there's a channel for them just to ask the question before they commit to doing something wrong, that could even save further time for them even disclosing something. Definitely. So if they're unaware that the limit is €50, for example, and they've got a gift for €45, they know okay, I'm good here. I don't need to bother compliance, or I don't need to bother my manager. So perhaps get all of those questions out in the open early on, or visible in the business, and a channel just so that they can ask questions, even if it's an automated channel, kind of a FAQ area, so they can get to those questions, those answers pretty quickly.
Nice. Well, I think that's a lot of good tips, and also a lot of things maybe our listeners or watchers can implement right away. Hopefully, time is ticking, obviously. So if you haven't already, I would highly suggest you get local line managers involved. Really make sure your awareness and all those links and processes are clear and easy to find, and get it out there. Basically. Okay. Well, I think we can end it there. So I really appreciate you taking the time to discuss this topic, and thank you all for listening.
Thank you.
Until next time.